good afternoon, good evening. This is Roger Gilbert reporting for International Aquafeed magazine and International Pet Food magazine. I'm pleased to say I'm in the company of Peter Kersh. He is the Managing Director here at WorldFeeds in the north of England in Thorn. And I'll ask him precisely where he's located in a second or two. But first of all, I'd like to introduce the two brands that we're talking about this afternoon. One is for the aqua feed industry, which is VAF, and the other is for the aquarium industry called Vitalis. Vitalis is the original company, and WorldFeeds has moved into the aquafeeds market more recently. Peter, how has the company WorldFeeds come to aquaculture as a market for its products?
Well, Roger, that's a big question, but initially we started life back in 2005. We launched our company. Our first brand was Vitalis Aquatic Nutrition. We entered the aquarium and pet sector market. That was primarily because of the background of my colleague, our technical director, Mark Wilson, who came together with me to set the company up. And his experience for a long time had been in the ornamentals market. So he'd been breeding many species of ornamental fish, primarily clownfish. So done a lot of work with recirculation systems, water filtration, and through all this process of breeding clownfish and many other species, his big issue, well, amongst all the issues that there are in breeding, as you know, was the lack of really good diets to help the process. And so he could go to the aquaculture market where they got pointed feeds specific to different species, which didn't correspond to coral reef species. And the pet sector had got a lot of flake and pellet products available at the time, but again, not responding technically to where Mark needed to be for the hatchery and the breeding process. And so he saw a gap in the marketplace. Long story short, Mark left the company where he was running this hatchery, and he set up the company WorldFeeds as it is today. And I came together with him in 2005 to really make the business go forward and together. So we decided at that stage that we would continue the work that he'd already done in the ornamentals market. We'd enter the aquariums market, build up our brand name, build up a reputation, build up confidence in what we were doing and what we were trying to bring to the marketplace, which I'm hoping you will ask me a question about in a second. And we can eventually, Mark always said that we had big opportunities in the aquafeed market, but we decided that in the early days we'd go for the easier line of entry where we could get ourselves established, and at some point in the future we would come to the aquafeeds market, which is what we've actually done. So 5 years ago we moved with VAF into aquafeed.
So what is the aquafeed product?
The aquafeed product is what we call, it's VAF, Vita Aquafeeds, and it's a feed block. Maybe I can just show you this one. This is a feed block that we've made to feed cleaner fish, which helps solve the problem of lice in the salmon industry. So this is a feed block which feeds with a high level of nutrition the two species that are currently used as cleaner fish, so that's lumpfish and wrasse, ballan wrasse. These are both grazing species, and so we give them a feed block. This feed block sits in water for 24 hours and doesn't disintegrate. The level of nutrition is retained within it. And so these two cleaner fish will graze on this product because they are grazing species. The salmon swim by it because they're not a grazing species. They're not interested in it all, so they can continue to eat their pellets. And the cleaner fish, when they eat this, when they're replete, when they have good nutrition, scientific papers have been proven that we've produced and which other people have produced show that the cleaner fish, when they are well fed, they will do the job of eating the lice in good numbers, and so the whole circle is closed.
We've had cleaner fish in the industry for a long time.
True.
And there's been experimentation and trials with it, and it has not always had a happy experience. What do you bring to the equation that makes it more of a proposition today?
Yeah, well, I think it's good nutrition is one thing, and a product that actually works for the cleaner fish. I don't think before we arrived on the scene that any other types of feed block or any of the pellets were working in the correct way to feed cleaner fish in the right way. In addition to that, there are all sorts of other elements, but the main one in that is husbandry. And I think, of course, the big thing that we found, well, I found it personally quite interesting, which is one I smile about always, is that from our background in aquariums, when you come to the aquaculture market and you start talking to the salmon industry and salmon farmers, of course salmon farmers are very species orientated, so they're good at handling millions of salmon in a cage, but then when you introduce another species into that cage, you now have what we would call an aquarium, because it's mixed species, and that is really very alien for the fish farming industry. You know, you don't generally tend to mix species in a cage. So our experience in aquarium feeding, we could feed, you know, big aquariums in the Middle East or in China of hundreds of different species of fish. We can separate them all out and feed them in different ways. We also, in addition to blocks, we make pellets, we make flakes of different sizes, and we make other presentations of food so that we can create feeding stations and feed all these different species in the right way that they all need. And so when we bring that experience to the cleaner fish and the salmon industry, it brings about it. We can advise on techniques, we can advise on husbandry, look at this, look at that, and in a way to get the best out of the feed blocks. We know the feed blocks have got the right nutrition for the species we're trying to feed, but it's how that is applied, and so that's why we make it in a block, and we've got a holder to hang it inside the cage, and we can advise on the positioning of the feed blocks in relation to the hides and so on. So there's a whole sort of range of techniques that we bring to bear on the marketplace, which I think is where we're scoring.
And I think the very fact that you mentioned that cleaner fish are grazing fish, opposed to salmon, which are out there just to consume,
Correct.
and the industry is committed to not just least cost but yield in terms of growth rate. Whereas from the aquarium point of view, you're looking at this from a totally different perspective.
Absolutely, well, not the opposite, but a very different perspective, as you're quite right. We're looking to feed fish better. We're looking to feed fish to give them health, for longevity, however long they're alive, that they're fed well and they live as healthy as possible. And that's what you want a cleaner fish to do inside a salmon cage. So if you can give it the best nutrition, then you're giving it a chance. So it's a very, very different philosophy too. And I think also, interestingly enough, there is scientific papers also been written on particularly the lumpfish and also on the wrasse. But lumpfish eating what we'd call standard pellets or salmon type pellets tend to grow very, very, very quickly. And when they do that, again, they don't eat the lice. So that's also been proven. You don't want a lumpfish to grow too quickly. So the feed blocks that we produce give them this nice steady growth rate, which allows them then to be completely replete and do the job of eating the lice. So a different philosophy altogether, you know.
Yeah, and you mentioned there also this word hides, and we're starting to see that creep into salmon farms, I believe. What is the purpose of a hide?
Well, the hides, interestingly enough, a lot of work has gone into the hides, the type of material, the length and the quantity and the bulk in that, which other companies are very specialist on that. But the hides are placed in channels inside the cages, and they're there primarily to aid or to help the cleaner fish hide, as you would suspect. So lumpfish have a peculiarity that if you see the lumpfish inside a salmon cage, you will see that they will sit on the vertical face of the hides, the sheets that are used for hides. So they're not made out of kelp, but it's a replicate for kelp. And so the lumpfish will hide inside these sheets, and they will stick vertically on those sheets to hide. But when the salmon kind of swim by and they spot spot the lice, then they come off the hide and they go and eat the lice, and then they come back and hide again. So hides are really, really important, because as grazing species, both the wrasse and the lumpfish need somewhere to separate themselves from the big and more aggressive dominant species in the cage, which is the salmon.
Yeah. Very, very fascinating. And are you achieving much success in places like Norway or Scotland?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, we are. I'm pleased to say that we've got more or less all the major players in Scotland on board with our product now. It's taken a period of time. Each company goes through individual trials and so on, some of the smaller companies and some of the bigger ones. But we are fully on board with all the users of cleaner fish in Scotland. So there are only 5 or 6 big companies up there, so I'm sure I don't need to name all those. But we are heavily working with all those companies in a deep way across, if not all their sites, but they are growing to all their sites. In Norway, we're trying to replicate that position as well, but that's been a slower process because we're obviously a little bit distant from Norway. But we've done a lot of work in there as well. We've had we're getting some good sales from a lot of the Norwegian companies there, but they are kind of coming. I'd say Scotland has been more advanced in its understanding of husbandry requirements with cleaner fish, and I think the Norwegians are now coming to that party a lot stronger than they have been over the past couple of years, and I think they're seeing the results of what's going on in Scotland. We'd probably have expected it to be in the opposite way in the early days, but that's not how it's happened. But I'm pleased to say that we got one of the major Norwegian producers just about completing 12-month trials on our product, and the word is good, shall I say, at this stage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say success in Scotland, does that mean that the lumpfish are keeping lice under control?
Yeah, the lice are under control, the numbers are good. The reports that we're getting is that our product helps in many, many ways, including reduction in treatments, reduction in mortality of salmon through the lice, reduction in mortality of cleaner fish, so replenishment costs are going down. So this goes to prove that what we set out, that when we feed fish better, we can actually get better results out of the job that they're due to be doing.
And Peter, if you don't mind, just to finish, I'd like to take you back to Vitalis.
Sure.
You supply a lot of aquarium worldwide. Can you tell us how important that business is to the company, and what is the response that you get from aquariums to your types of products that you're producing?
Yeah, the aquariums market is really very, very important to us. We've got a lot of fantastic customers all around the world. The aquariums market is not huge, but if you look at public aquariums, there's probably around 1,000 public aquariums around the world of size. All over Europe, of course, UK, many in America, biggest concentration, Far East, China. Middle East is growing fast, a lot of investment money going into new big aquariums. And of course the trend in the entertainment market is, you've done one big, so I'm going to do one bigger. So you get that, it's not competition as such, but it's wanting to do more and wanting to show something more spectacular to the public. And they are fantastic. I've been very privileged. I've been probably in 50 odd aquariums I've visited around the world, customers and non-customers. And I have to say that they're wonderful things to behold, because you can see the fish and you see them in what's trying to be natural habitats. But this marketplace is very, very important to us. We have a good reputation in that. The Vitalis brand is well known around the world. People are coming to us now, which means that we've reached a certain level. We've done a lot of the hard yards, as we say in rugby, to get our products out there, and now I think we're starting to reap the benefits of people coming to us, which makes us feel very proud and very confident with what we do. But our philosophy is to work very, very closely with our customers in a technical way, be it in a salmon site or in an aquarium. We don't just sell feed, we sell technique, we sell advice, we sell support. Do it this way, try that way, all sorts of things that come to bear through our own experience, that for new users we can help them get the best out of our product. So in answer to your question, the aquarium market is very, very important to us. it's so much so that I'm pleased to be able to tell you that we recently got a contract with what is now the biggest public aquarium in the world, recently opened in Abu Dhabi, a new SeaWorld aquarium, which is a marvel to behold, an absolute marvel to behold for anyone. So a bit of publicity there for them. I don't apologise for, but if anyone is going there, please go and see it. But there are many other aquariums, not just in the region, but in other parts, which are, you know, have lovely sites to look at fish. But that contract is really down to what we've done so far. I think if Abu Dhabi SeaWorld had come on when we were just starting 2005, I don't think they would have had the doors quite open, shall we say. So I think they're now benefiting from the experience that we brought to the world. For 15 years.
It's nice to know that you've, as WorldFeeds, entered the aquaculture industry. You bring a different dimension and view of the industry with you, and I think we can only benefit from that in aquaculture. And also through our pet magazine, I'm sure we'll be covering more aquaria in the future. But for now, Peter, thank you very much for hosting us today. We are very pleased to be here. You'll have to tell us where we are in the UK,
Don't worry.
up here in the north. But from me and International Aquafeed, and you from
WorldFeeds in Thorn,
in
the middle of Yorkshire.
In the middle of Yorkshire. Thank you very much, and goodbye.